Hi there, my name's Rich Waterman. Thanks for watching this video. I thought I'd do a bit of an overview about what creates emotions, what the components of emotions, and there's a couple of ways different looking at it. There's the classic kind of NLP model. If I just draw this out on my screen, which is a triangle, which is people call it VAK, VAK. And the interesting thing about VAK is you've got three components, which are visual, and you've got auditory, and then you've got a funny word called kinesthetic. Now, kinesthetic is just touch and feeling, okay? Now, Tony Robbins talks about this, but in a slightly different way. And he actually normally has kinesthetic as the base of the triangle, but he calls that physiology. And he would call the visual stuff focus. And he would call auditory language. So you can use any of those words and interchange them as it sees fit. Anyway, those three, which funnily enough, your primary senses. So if you think about it, visual, auditory, and then kinesthetic, touch and feeling. We're not working with smell and taste at the moment at this point. They are very, very powerful and ancient senses. Generally, we don't use them as much in personal development work, but actually think about it. A very sort of familiar smell or taste can be very, very powerful in terms of triggering your feelings and emotions. Anyway, those three things come together to form an emotion. Now, if you start to then break it down even more, we can start to look at factors which are both external and internal, and they can apply, external and internal can apply to all three of those senses. So then we start to get an idea of why do we feel how we feel. So think about it, just starting with the visual part first. When we see something externally, it often will trigger a feeling in us. So be really aware of what you're reading, what you're watching on the news, what you're looking at, what you're focusing on, as Tony would say, externally, because that will impact your emotion. Equally, we can start to create internal pictures in our head in terms of, things that we are imagining, picturing, maybe sometimes even memories we're recalling. Now, those internal pictures, the more they're bright, bold, and colourful and close to us, they will have more impact on your emotional state. If they are further away, black and white, blurry, dimmed, shrunk, they'll have less impact on the emotional state. So we can actually adjust internal pictures in our head by changing those characteristics. They're called submodalities, if you want to know. And that can then also affect your emotions as well, both in a way that is empowering for you and also disempowering. If we then move to the auditory side of things, auditory is sounds, it's also language. So again, what are you listening to externally? What are you listening to on the news? What are you listening to on the radio? What are you, which people are you listening to? What are you saying out loud so you can hear it in your ear? That will impact on your emotional state. And equally, internal language, taking control of your internal language. What are you saying to yourself? How are you saying it? What tonality are you using? What pace of language are you using? Is it soft? Is it hard? Are they what are called juicy or emotional words, or are they flat and unimpactful words? So again, we can take control of the auditory side as well. The final one's a bit more interesting, which is the kinesthetic side. So that's again sort of touch and feeling, but it's also energy. It can be the wind, it can be the sun, it can be hydration, it can be all sorts of things that impact on us physically. So think about stuff that's going on physically, and also where things are showing up inside our body, internal sensations as well. We talked a little bit in another video about internal sensations and moving them around as well. So by combining these three different factors, these three senses, and also being aware of external input and internal input, we can actually then start to be aware of what are forming these emotions. We actually do emotions. We create and construct emotions, or sometimes we get knocked into emotions. But we always have the choice of going somewhere else. And that is taking control of any of these three factors and the factors external and internal. Tony Robbins often talks about using physiology first, so changing your body first. How do you change your body posture? Like if you're feeling sad or flat, you tend to be sort of constricted down, looking down. And yet, if you put your shoulders back and look up and smile, it's actually really difficult to feel awful and rubbish from doing this. You might feel a bit weird initially, and if you do it in public, people might think you're a bit odd. but it's a way of taking control of your emotions as well. Anyway, that's a quick video on emotional pieces and how you control them. I'm not saying it's something you're going to be able to master immediately, but you can actually, particularly with the physical side of things, the physiology side, the kinesthetic side, you can dramatically shift how you're feeling just by moving about, hydrating, changing your posture, changing your facial expression, changing your eye position. We'll talk about that in another video. And you can start to then shift your emotional state, or at very least be aware of your emotional state and choose to do something about it. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.